Hey everyone, Jason here, digital marketing consultant and fellow entrepreneur. And in this video, you're going to learn my 7-step strategic process to coming out of burnout, not only stronger, but ready for the next race. So including a time-step table of contents in the description, along with some other helpful productivity videos to help you overcome burnout and make sure that this doesn't happen again. So before we dive into the 7 different steps, I quickly want to talk about the 3 different types of burnout, because depending upon the type you have, you might need to deal with it in a different way. So the first type of burnout, which is most common, and that's just overwhelm. You are going 110%, 150% in your business, and it seems it doesn't matter how much time and energy you put, it just won't move as fast as you want. There's too many plates in the air, there's too many things going on, and you just can't juggle it all. The second type of burnout is physical exhaustion. This is where your body is essentially saying, hey, you know what? We've had enough. It's over. We're done. It's time for some rest, and you just physically can't seem to continue. And the third one, and the worst type to actually deal with, is negative people or negative person burnout. And this is where there's someone in your life or business that is completely draining your energy. When you're going through your inbox, you dread getting emails from them, or when you go to pick up your phone, you hope that there's not a text or a phone call from them. This could be a coworker, a business partner, and even a client. And so that type obviously is one that you're going to have to essentially figure out how to cut that person out of your life. And it's a very, very real problem. And you might figure out by the time you go through this process that there might be an individual or a couple individuals that are actually contributing to the majority of your fatigue and stress. Now, as we go through these 7 steps, I'm not going to dive into eating right, making sure you're getting a full night's sleep, making sure your work hours are under 50 hours a week for maximum productivity and not hurting your health long-term, because you already know all that. So here we're going to be practical and tactical and strategic on what to actually do to come out of this burnout feeling stronger and better. And the first step, which is going to be the hardest, is to stop. Literally stop everything. And make sure that you give yourself enough time to come out of this burnout or to prevent this burnout from getting any worse. Now, this is going to be the hardest part, right? Because you know you have a long to-do list. You already have meetings. You already have obligations. But all of those don't matter in the context of making sure that you come out of this burnout stronger, because anything you do beyond this point is just going to cause more harm and more long-term damage than it's actually going to be beneficial to you and your business. But most importantly, you as the entrepreneur. So let's go through a quick example, because for some reason in sports it makes sense, but then when we get to entrepreneurship, it doesn't. So I used to run track. I ran the 400 meters, which is just one quick lap around the track. So let's say you're racing one lap around the track and you get about 100 meters in and you start to feel a little twinge in your knee, but it's like a 2 out of 10. So you're running a race, right? It hurts a little bit. It's supposed to hurt. You're going all out. So you just keep running. Well, let's say another 75 meters, 100 meters in, now you're halfway through. All of a sudden the pain goes from a 2 to a 5. Well, you're halfway through. So of course you just feel tired, you're fatigued. Of course you're going to have some aches and pains here. Then let's say you go another 75 meters. So you're coming around that final stretch and you're about to run down the home stretch of the track. And all of a sudden it jumps from a 5 to a 7. You take 3 more steps and all of a sudden it becomes an 8. So in that situation, what would you do? Would you try and push through it? Or would you stop because you're afraid that you're going to cause something that's going to be incredibly, incredibly painful and keep you out of the next 3 or 4 races? Well, that's exactly how burnout works. As entrepreneurs, we have a goal. The goal is the race. We have this goal in mind, we have this vision, and we're just sprinting all the way towards it. And because of the hustle and grind culture that we're inundated with as entrepreneurs, we think that twinge in our knee is something to be ignored. That's us being lazy or not putting enough hard work in or just learning how to fight through the pain. And yes, to a certain extent, maybe 2, 3, 5 out of 10 pain, yeah, you should totally just keep going. But as soon as you cross that 5, you're starting again in a 7, 8, 9, you're getting less than 6 hours of sleep per night and you just feel exhausted all the time. Well, all of a sudden you're getting to that point where you risk tearing something. And having a small pull, you can recover with that within a month or 2. But when you tear something, oh my gosh, that is months, and you don't want to do that as an entrepreneur. So I hope that silly little example just illustrated the importance of when you start feeling that burnout, or when you're in burnout, maybe you're at a 10 out of 10 already, just stop. there's another race. Just because you limp across the finish line here doesn't mean that you win, because the race of entrepreneurship is going to keep going on and on and on and on. It might feel like the championship, it might feel like just one more push, but the reality is it's never just one more push. It's not just one more push. So hopefully that little example helps illustrate why just stop. So what do we do when we finally stopped? Well, half the battle is over, because that's really going to be the hardest part. Stopping, clearing your schedule, telling people, hey, you know what? I just need some time for myself, or give them whatever excuse you want, because not everyone deserves to know that you are feeling burned out. Sometimes you can be ashamed of it, but you shouldn't. So whatever it takes, clear that schedule, get things off your plate so you can move on to step number 2, which is change your environment. You need to get out of your space. So whether you have a home office, you go to a co-working space, you have an actual office, you work in the corner of a living room like I do here, wherever that workspace is, get out of it. Move away from it. Our brains like to associate certain activities with specific locations and spaces, even if you're in the same house or same little studio. So what you need to do is physically move away from the area that your brain has now associated with burnout and stress. So for me, this can be going to a coffee shop, this can be going to a different co-working space. And when I lived in California, I went to this place called the Huntington Gardens. I would just take my laptop, turn off my phone, and I would go through the rest of these steps completely disconnected from the world. Wherever you decide to go, heck, if your apartment has a pool, go sit by the pool and do this. Wherever that location may be, it needs to be completely separate from where you would normally go to do work. And that's essentially what step number 2 is. Get out, because you need to let your brain detach from the physical space that is causing all of this stress. And once you've gotten out, step number 3 is going to be draining your brain. So this is where you're going to take all of those stressful things, everything that's inside of here swirling around, causing you to feel fatigued and tired, and just get it out. So once you've gotten out, once you're in that new space, what you want to do is take out a pen and paper. It is important that you actually write it down if you're legitimately burned out. I like using just a plain $10 notebook I got from Target and a pen, and I will just, for 20 to 30 minutes, write out everything that's on my mind. The point is to get everything that's in your brain onto paper so your brain can actually feel refreshed. Because when your brain starts being used as a storage device, you're going to find that your creativity starts to drop, your processing power starts to drop, because your brain's supposed to be a processor. It's designed to look at a problem and solve it or be creative. It's not designed to remember, okay, I need to do this and I need to do that. I need to email this person. I need to email that person. You don't want all of that stuff in your head. So you need to get all of that out of your head onto paper so you can move on to step number 4. Now, step number 4 is going to be working on your greater vision or goals. Now, if you don't have a vision board or have a vision for your company, if you haven't already set quarterly goals, then I will link up in the cards and the description to 2 of my previous vlogs, one where I go through my vision boarding process and the other where I go through my goals. Now, unlike some other vision boarding processes that you've seen in the past, this isn't pie in the sky woo-woo, like say affirmations to yourself in the morning. I'm not really that type of person. So rest assured, both of those are going to be very practical in terms of how to actually create a vision and create a set of goals that you can continue to draw energy from and hopefully prevent burnout in the future. Now, if you haven't already done that, or you haven't done this third thing that I'm going to talk about, this is where you want to do this, and this is the ideal day exercise. Now, this ideal day exercise should be designed for how you want your weeks or days to look like here and now, not 3 to 5 years from now like you may have seen elsewhere. So essentially what you want to do is, again, pick up your notebook and go ahead and write out whatever your ideal time of waking up. For me, it's 5. So from 5 a.m. all the way to when I go to bed around 9, I'm going to have a line for each one, and then write down what ideally you would be doing each hour of the day. And the reason that this is so powerful and important is because you're starting to anchor what you actually want out of life. Because a large part of getting burned out is because whatever your expectations are in your head are not actually the reality. Because if you wrote down exactly exactly what you wanted your day to look like, and in 2 or 3 weeks, that's how your days looked, well, I could almost virtually guarantee you, you're never going to burn out again, because you're going to end every day satisfied because you already know that you got to do everything that you wanted to do. I almost said you could get everything done. You definitely won't always get everything done, but what this will allow you to do is start to create a frame of where you want to go and what you want your life to look like while you work on your goals. Because entrepreneurship is a journey, it's not a destination. There are multiple races. Just because you have to stop this race right now and go through this process doesn't mean you're losing all of the other ones. It means you're saving all of the other ones. You don't want to win this particular race, whatever this milestone or vision that you're working so hard towards, and sacrifice all the other races, visions, and milestones in the future. So that's why this is so important. It's going to really, really help you make sure that you start refreshing your mind and seeing, no, this is actually the vision I want for my life, because it's so easy to get caught up in a bunch of things and start spending your time on things that you don't actually care about. It's surprising how easy we can start wasting our time when we're not really clear on what we actually want. So once you've gone through those steps, the real hard part is over. And now that you have that vision, you have everything on a piece of paper, now it's time to actually start organizing and creating a plan. And the first step to doing that is setting priorities. So one of the biggest culprits of burnout is actually trying to do too much, right? Doesn't matter if you're getting all of your sleep, you're eating right, maybe you're even working out and you've got your work hours dialed in, you're just trying to do too much. Now, there are a ton of different things we could talk about here to help you manage all the other things you want to do, but here are 3 simple actions to take. Look at that brain dump list of everything that's on your mind, everything from your business to your personal life to chores or housework that you thought you needed to do, and go ahead and create 3 different lists for them. The to-do list, the not to-do list, and the wish list. And so this is where you're going to start prioritizing and actually looking at things and saying, do I really need to do this? And if the answer is yes, then go ahead and put it on your to-do list. Then if the answer is no, put it on your not to-do list, because for every one yes, you should have at least 5 no's. Well, a large part of entrepreneurship, counterintuitive-wise, is actually saying no to opportunities so you can focus on the ones that are really important. Now, you might be asking, how do I know which ones are important and which ones aren't? Well, you just did your ideal day exercise. So your ideal day exercise actually outlines what you'd want to be doing during your days, what you'd want to be working on, and hopefully you have a vision and goals. So when you have that clear picture of where you want to go and what you want your day to look like, it's really easy to start to say yes and no to things on your list. So make that not to-do list, make that to-do list, and then the wish list, things that you really like to do in the future. And so this is how you're going to set your priorities. And the final step before we go on to 6 and 7 here with setting your priorities, choosing your priorities here, is choosing no more than 3 things to work on. I know that sounds crazy, but this is vital because you, as an entrepreneur, you only have 40 to 50 hours per week, total, max. Now, everything else on your list outside of those 3 top priorities should be delegated or put on your wish list. If you don't have the budget to delegate them, I have plenty of tutorials on how to actually hire a virtual assistant. I'll link up in the cards in the description to that playlist that walks you through how to do that. If you don't have the budget for a virtual assistant, you can have virtual assistants for as low as $5 an hour. If you don't have the budget for that or you don't have the time to hire, then put those things on the wish list and just focus on those 3 priorities. If you need help with those priorities, those 3 should be directly tied to making more money or keeping current clients or customers happy so that they keep paying you. Those should be really your 2 top priorities. And then whatever the 3rd one, you want to be working on some new project. And so when you focus on those revenue generating activities, you're going to help yourself from being burned out later on, because now you're going to have revenue to actually do all those other things that are on the not to do list or wish list. So I'm hoping you're starting to see how this kind of works and snowballs. And it might come down to you're just being impatient and you have to wait. I know personally for me, that's something I struggle with a lot still, because I see all these things I want to do, but at the end of the day, we only have so much time. So once you've chosen those 3 priorities, next is actually going to be creating a plan for your weeks and coming months. Now, personally, I like to plan on a quarterly basis. That might be a little too OCD or type A for you. So whatever the time frame is, you definitely want to plan at least 2 weeks in advance. So I use a method called time blocking. I'll link up in the cards in the description to a full playlist and video that walks through exactly how to use this methodology to schedule out your days. But what you want to try and do is create a calendar full of what you're going to do at what time throughout your day. So you did the ideal day exercise. Now it's time to do what your day is actually going to look like. I like using Google Calendar. You can use whatever application you like. And so when you've created this plan, now you're making sure that as you move forward, you're being a lot more realistic with how much time you have, because you've actually planned out your next 2 weeks to a month to a quarter. So you're not saying, hey, I'm going to reach all these goals without thinking about how long it's actually going to take you to reach those goals. So you can be a lot more realistic. It's going to take a lot of pressure off you when you've actually created a project plan. And once you have this plan in place, there's only one more step. And this step is one that you're going to have to want to do over and over again, month after month. So think of this as your physical therapy. You've pulled a muscle and you need to do some physical therapy before you jump back in the race and go full steam again. And this is going to be a monthly reflection, reflecting monthly. And so the reason that you want to do this is during a monthly reflection, I'll link up to the cards in the description to a vlog that walks through my process. But all you need to do here, you want to look at your previous month's calendar and you want to look at your previous month's to-do list and see how on point you were. How long did things take and how much did you accomplish? And did you try to take on too much? A large part of getting burned out is not having those checks along the way to make sure that you're not starting to get overwhelmed. So when you do a monthly reflection, it's kind of like when you're running the race and you're checking in. Okay, how's that knee doing? How's that hamstring or ankle doing? Am I less than a 5? Okay, cool. I can keep going. If you get to the end of the month, you realize, oh my gosh, I had 2 weeks that were 60 hours. Well, then that's a big issue. You want to not only immediately give yourself some time off so you can recuperate and recover, so your physical body doesn't give you burnout. But number 2, you need to look back and say, okay, where did I go wrong in my project planning and how do I improve that for the future? And so that does it for the 7 practical steps to not only overcome burnout, deal with burnout, but also come out the other side stronger. So I sincerely hope you got some value and motivation through this video. Go and hit that like button, subscribe for more productivity videos and mindset videos just like this one to help you be successful as an entrepreneur. And until the next, keep building the business you love.